Hello there, how are you? I'm well, thanks for asking. It seems an awfully long time since my last review, and it probably has been a few days. I've been away at a medieval festival, the Abbey Medieval Festival, the largest one in the Southern Hemisphere apparently. As there weren't books around in the 11th century, more or less, I tend not to read while I'm there. However, I did listen to an audiobook on the way up, and that is what I am reviewing today. So, the Murderbot Diaries series by Martha Wells. Look, I'm going to be honest, I was thoroughly put off about this. All Systems Red, the one I've just finished, came out in 2017. It was an instant, phenomenal, cosmic powers type success. It was all over BookTok, BookTwitter, BookTube, BookXtagram, whatever. It was everywhere, and everyone was raving about, oh my God, how wonderful it is. And honestly, for me, that level of over-enthusiasm just puts me off. It reminds me of the screaming crowds you saw at the Beatles festivals or Elvis festivals. A sea of humanity all screaming at the top of their lungs so that they can't actually hear the songs, fainting in the crowds for no reason that I can see. It's just all a little bit not for me-ish. So, it's taken me 8 years to read All Systems Red, with everyone telling me how wonderful it is and how I should do that. And in fact, I didn't actually read All Systems Red. I listened to a narration. This particular narration was by, I've got a note here somewhere for where it is, Kevin R. Free. These narrations have apparently got a lot of good feedback, or adulation, if you will, or whatever. And I have to say, Kevin R. Free did a marvellous job. I thought the narration was spectacular. It's a short book, it was just over 3 hours. So I listened to it fast on the drive up. Having listened to it, I will say I thoroughly enjoyed it. All the hysteria actually had a point. It's a good book. It's a lot of fun. Do I think it's game-changing, life-changing? No, of course I don't. I'm not a teenager. If I was 17 in 2017 and this was my first science fiction book, I can see why you would. I can see why you would be that enthusiastic about it. It's well written. It's fun. It's got a lot of different wow factory things, so that if you've only ever really been subjected to the sort of books, why are you eating plastic? It's better than books, but don't eat plastic. Say hello to the camera. Or chew my ring. Whatever. Yeah. So if this is one of your first books coming out of school where you mostly read things that you were forced to read, I can see why there would be a huge amount of enthusiasm. For people in the wider science fiction community who have been reading increasingly obscure novels that win book awards, I can also see why you would be incredibly enthusiastic about it. It's fun. It's easy, straightforward, fun. It tells an interesting and absorbing story with a main likable character, and it is well written. It's much better written than I expected, because a lot of these teen sensation type books tend to be poorly written. I'm not going to mention some of the ones I really despise that everyone loves, but where the writing or the main characters don't work for me. Here, it all makes sense. It's told in a consistent fashion. So, some of the reasons for its popularity that have been popping up and bludgeoning me into reading it for years are that it has a unique and relatable character, which I doubted would be the case, but is in fact very true. So our main character calls itself Murderbot. It's actually known, I think its actual proper name is Sec Unit 1. And Sec Unit 1 is Security Unit. That's it. Security Unit 1 is a cyborg security guard. I also work security, so that was entertaining. Cyborg in the sense that it's got meat, the meat side, and it's got the technical side. So it's cyborg. It's a bit cyberpunkish, actually, now I come to think of it. It didn't occur to me at the time. This creature is completely genderless. It is got implanted small firearms in its front arms. It's got a bigger one on the back. Its name for itself inside its head is Murderbot, and all of this book happens inside Murderbot's personal head. So Murderbot, or Sec Unit 1, has been leased to a scientific expedition that goes to a planet. Now, there's a huge corporation that, I don't know if it owns the planets exactly, but it owns all the things that are required to do an expedition to the planet. And so, if a corporation or an individual or another planet, a government, whatever, wants to do this sort of expedition, they have to hire everything from the living units to the transport units to the security units from this corporation. Murderbot has been hired out to this particular expedition, about which they know very little. They're not interested. We start off with an exciting event where 2 of the expedition are down a crater sampling whatever. Murderbot doesn't know and Murderbot doesn't care. And Murderbot is watching over them. An unlisted, unknown fauna animal emerges from the bottom and starts to ingest one of the 2 scientists. Murderbot charges in, saves the scientists, explodes things in the fauna, which then goes away, dead or dying, one assumes, and gets both scientists back to the transport before they go back to the habitat for repair. Murderbot also needs repair because the meat side of them has been severely injured. And in a very organic fashion, Martha Wells tells us everything essentially that we need to set ourselves up in this plot. It's really very impressive writing, how that is done. It's writing light. You don't have to work at it. You can just go along for the ride and enjoy it. Murderbot and all other Sec units like it have been controlled by a command unit implanted in them that's part of their programming or something like that. Murderbot has hacked theirs. There's now no command unit controlling it. Downloads from the system, which it's meant to forcibly upload into their system, are looked at in passing but not integrated. They have the ability through the technical side themselves to actually insert themselves into the habitats controls or any other command controls of other devices. And Murderbot is hiding this thing. If it was known that they'd done that, the unit would take them apart into small pieces and not reassemble it. That would be the end of it. But having full autonomy, no controls over it, it goes about doing its job pretty much so that nobody who doesn't know Sec units would realize that this was happening. What it does in its spare time is download thousands and thousands of hours of media. I don't know if Martha Wells was making a joke about streaming services and how obsessed humanity currently seems to be by whatever series is being downloaded by whatever streaming service, but I took it as such and I enjoyed that because I don't stream. So throughout this one, there is one particular type of media. What is it? Something about some soapy or sitcom or something happening on a planet. Now, Murderbot isn't human, doesn't really understand humans, it doesn't like humans at all, but it enjoys the humans in the shows. It doesn't always understand what's happening there, but probably understands a bit more about humans than it did before it started. It broke its command module and started streaming shows. So they get back to the habitat, and that's where we find that Murderbot has got a unit into which they put themselves, which will pretty fast heal any biological damage they've had, as well as any technological damages. Now, lacking the command unit means that when things go south, Murderbot has the autonomy to deal with it. The survey team that they are with, we eventually learn, is called Preservation Arc, something like that, and it's led by Dr. Mensch. Dr. Mensch is an interesting character. She is apparently a high state politician in their own particular political unit, but she's here leading the team that is surveying this planet. Something is going wrong though. The maps that they've been provided with by the company have got these strange empty spaces. Technology mysteriously stops working, like the transport that they are in all of a sudden cuts out. Dr. Mensch, however, is the pilot and is staying at the controls, so when it cuts out, no damage is done. But repeated small things accumulate until they find out that another survey team on the other side of the planet on a different continent has suddenly gone silent, so they go to find what has happened to them. No, we don't eat phones either. No, we don't. Chirp, you say, but I say no. And it's an exciting story in that something bad is happening, we don't know what. Death and destruction and political maneuvering all ensue, and Murderbot comes out well from all that. But more importantly, Murderbot lets their whole team survive it, where they probably would not have done without Murderbot. At some point during this process, they find that Murderbot doesn't have a control unit, but instead of being dismayed and horrified, they just start treating it like it's human. This is incredibly distressing to Murderbot. Murderbot doesn't want to interact with humans at all. Much like many medieval reenactors at the festival didn't want to react with the public at all, but they had to. Doesn't want to interact with humans, doesn't like it when they try to treat it like a human, doesn't want to make eye contact, prefers to stay in full armor at all times so they can't actually see that it resembles a human and start to feel emotionally attached to it. However, the Preservation Orcs team come from a political system where cyborgs have full citizenships, and you've got augmented humans, like there's one on the team, for example, who is human, has augmentations. They don't see differentiation. All of these people can be citizens, and they don't really see why they should treat Murderbot any differently. This is difficult for it. And so you actually have a fair amount of exploration of complex themes. Now, I don't think they're that complex, and I don't think the exploration is that deep, but I've been reading science fiction for quite a few years, actually several decades. So the themes of self-identity, of when artificial intelligence is real intelligence, what constitutes an individual, a person, what constitutes freedom, how corporation can control and when should it, all those sorts of fun elements of the book, which would be very, very engaging and very, very insightful to a new reader, for me, were good. I think Martha Wells did a fantastic job with them, and that's as someone who's read a lot of them. Didn't rock my world, but thoroughly impressed my world. I liked it. Fast-paced and engaging plot, it definitely has. There's action-packed scenes and plot twists that keep coming at you, so you don't really know where you're at. Not so much that you're bewildered and lost, but enough to keep you thoroughly enjoying what's happening. And apparently the series saw a significant increase in sales because of book talk promotion, word of mouth, and increased visibility. It now has an incredibly large fan base, and apparently the books just kept coming. Now, when I finished All Systems Red, 2017, I would really have liked to go straight on to Artificial Condition. I was going to get another audiobook, preferably with the same narrator from the library, because I thought that was a fantastic way of listening to it. It's the perfect type of book with excitement and exploration, one narrator so you always know who's who, and a small team of characters that you don't lose track of. Perfect audiobook for driving or something where your attention will occasionally go sideways. Yes, so second book is Artificial Condition 2018. Unfortunately, I had to reserve it at the library. It wasn't available. But as soon as I get it, that's going to be my next audiobook of choice. And I think the next one came out the year after, and I'd probably like to go directly onto that one if I could. These are actually good enough that I might sometime, if I'm in a reading slump, get out the actual books and read them. So, not much more to say about it. I might mention the next two in passing when I get them, but I think this is probably going to be a good one to do a wrap-up of all three if I finally get around to all three of them. For my next adventure and probably review, I'm going to be concluding yet another trilogy or series with Mark Lawrence, the fantastic Mark Lawrence's The Book That Held Her Heart, which is the third in the library series. I just got that out from the library. Haven't really got too far into it, but I loved the first two books so much, I expect to love this one as well. Anyhow, look at that. It's halfway through July. There's going to be a July wrap-up before you know it. Thank you for watching. If you're still with me, the algorithm tells me that most people won't be, and that's fine. But yes, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Read good books.